Setbacks are inevitable, but how you react to them is not. Absolutely not. A setback could be something as simple or innocuous as a paper cut, and it could be as monumental or devastating as the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of your career, the loss of your prospects, the loss of a very close or desired or loving relationship. And your reaction has to be commensurate with what you want to get from the circumstance and situation at the time. Setbacks are inevitable to the human experience, but how you react to the setback is absolutely not inevitable to your human experience. We have all experienced setbacks in the past, and we will all experience setbacks in the future. That's just a fact of life, and it could be something innocuous like a paper cut, or it could be something monumental to your experience of life. It could be a lost relationship, a lost job. It could be the literal loss of a loved one, or an important relationship in your life, your prospects, something around your health. Could be a whole bunch of different things. Still a setback, and how you react to that setback is going to shape how you move forward. So the setback really isn't the story. It's your reaction to the story. Everyone is going to get knocked down at some point, and it's how and when and how long it takes you to get back up that's going to give you the differentiator to what your overall experience is going to be. And it's the key parts of what happens in the moment as soon as the setback occurs or appears, and then how your instantaneous reaction is going to shape what that interaction looks like, and then what your ongoing experience is going to be like. And here's the default. The default is that most of us just kind of run on autopilot. Nothing wrong with that. That's kind of how we are wired. But what if that autopilot isn't serving you? What if that autopilot is actually being detrimental to what it is you're trying to achieve in your life? But this is the behavior. And if you can name the behavior, then you can start to reframe what that looks like for you in the future. You can think back to previous interactions you've had, previous actions and reactions that you've taken based on setbacks that you've received or setbacks that you've experienced. And then you're going to be in a situation to be able to see a pattern and to see what your default is, what your automatic response is going to be, and then start to figure out the why. And the why can be broken down in a variety of different ways. You can have a reasonable excuse in and of the moment. I was kind of tired, I was hungry, I didn't expect it, I was surprised, I don't like to be hoodwinked, I don't like to be ambushed, whatever that looks like. But ultimately it comes down to a few different key factors in terms of how you're wired, what your experiences have shaped you into, up to and including the moment of the setback and the reaction in and of that moment. And it could be ego driven. It could be something that impacts how other people perceive us, or how we perceive that other people perceive us, and maybe our prospects or our future prospects based on the circumstance or situation in and of the moment. It could be fear. It could be fear about what it means for us, what it means for my career, what it means for my health, my wealth, my family circumstance or situation, my prospects for future growth and an opportunity. It could be based on comfort, because sometimes acting and reacting in just an automatic way is just easier. Just easier than sitting down and maybe thinking about it for a second or a moment or two to give yourself this opportunity to say, hey, listen, is this exactly what I want this moment to feel like? And is this exactly what I want to remember of myself and the interaction as I move forward in terms of creating my memories, creating my legacy as well? And then it's basically based on habit. You know, you have certain habits that you act and react in different ways under different circumstances with different people or parties involved in that. This is all super valuable information for you. That's the absolute key. And it's the gap between the stimulus and the response that's going to shape your experience and the experience of others, if there are others involved in that particular setback. And you get to shape it. If you have an instantaneous reaction to something that involves violence, verbal violence, hopefully it's not physical violence, but involves verbal violence or some sort of projecting of negativity to other circumstances, people, situations, entities, whatever that looks like, you're going to have to try and widen that gap. If you, with the benefit of hindsight, with the benefit of time and the benefit of maybe a wee bit more information, you might have said, well, you know what, I wouldn't have reacted that way had I known this. I wouldn't have reacted that way if it was presented to me in this particular way. I wouldn't have reacted that way if the person had said it just a wee bit more politely. Something along those lines. But you want to try and get a gap or the gap between the stimulus, the setback, and the response, your reaction, so that you can then say, Am I in receipt of all the facts? Am I at my best self right now? If not, why not? What would be the best outcome I'm looking to get? And is my reaction going to be commensurate with that outcome? And if the answer to any of those questions is, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, probably not, then you need to take a breath. You need to take a beat. There's a very, very small window that you can help shape your experiences. And some examples that I personally use myself, or some examples that I certainly coach people on, are literally breathing. Just taking a breath. All too often, people can be uncomfortable with what is perceived to be an uncomfortable silence. I don't think there's such a thing as an uncomfortable silence. Silence is there for a reason. Silence holds weight. Silence can hold a lot of information in and of itself. And you get that opportunity to take a breath, to just literally breathe. You don't have to react instantaneously right in and of that moment. Someone might say, everything okay? I can't hear you if you're on the phone. Have I lost you? Are you still there? Or they maybe think you're frozen, or if you're on the screen, or they maybe think you're having some sort of medical episode if you're in person. And they're kind of like, is everything okay there? I'm just taking a breath here because the information I've just been given is not what I thought it was going to be, or it's a big surprise. I wasn't prepared for that, and I need to just make sure that I'm going to react in a way that's going to be commensurate with us continuing in unison as we go forward to a positive outcome. There's nothing wrong with saying any of that. There's nothing wrong with saying, could you repeat that? And the other person might say, are you deaf? You didn't hear it the first time? I heard it the first time, but I just don't know that my reaction is what you're looking for based on what you said. So I'd like you to repeat it. Then it gives me an opportunity just to catch up to make sure that I caught the whole message. Maybe the person is genuinely trying to hurt your feelings. Maybe the person did deliver it in a wee bit more of an abrupt way than they intended to, and they've been given a second chance to actually make it right and deliver the message that's supposed to be delivered. Or an opportunity to say, listen, this is nothing like I expected. This is completely different to the conversation that I thought we were having. This was not on the agenda if it happens in a meeting type or style of format, and I am not prepared to have this conversation right now. I'm not prepared to be able to give you a reaction right now. If I give you a reaction right now, it's probably not going to be commensurate with what you're looking to get from this interaction right now, if it's going to help us proceed and progress forward in some sort of collaborative, positive fashion. There are a whole bunch of different opportunities for you to make that gap between stimulus and response appropriate so that you can react in the best way possible. You can give your brain an opportunity to catch up. Your instant reaction could be one of anger, could be one of, I am ready to enter into a conflict, and that might be appropriate in and of the moment. There's not that many occasions when that's actually the case, but it could be the case. You never know. But you want to make sure that the reaction that you have is commensurate with the circumstance or situation. So you need that gap between the stimulus and response to reflect how much time you need to be able to catch up, be in receipt of all the information that you have at your disposal for right now, and then react in the most appropriate way for you. The key is reacting is fast. Acting is a wee bit more slow. It's more considered. It's more appropriate with what you're doing. It's more intentional with what it is you really need. And neither acting or reacting, this is really, really important, neither acting or reacting is about suppressing feelings or about ignoring the emotion that you have attached to that particular circumstance. It's really about just acknowledging that in and of the moment, and then having a series of behaviors or actions or reactions that's going to help get you to where you need to be. So start to think about when you act and start to think about when you react. And give yourself that opportunity. Think to the last time when you had a difficult circumstance or situation with someone where you weren't at your best, where you said something out of anger or out of conflict or out of some sort of fear or protectionism, and think about what you would have done with the benefit of hindsight, with the information you have now, based on the outputs of that interaction, of course, and based on your reflections and your learnings. There's going to be so much valuable information in there. Always there is so much valuable information if you're willing to look for it, if you're willing to have honest and open conversations with yourself about what happened. I don't mean you take absolutely every single thing on yourself if a circumstance didn't work out the way that you were hoping it was going to work out. You don't take on everyone else's bullshit or bad behaviour. You give yourself the opportunity to know and understand your part in it. If you were at your best, how so? Was it your diet, your attention that you paid, the amount of time that you dedicated to preparing for that? If you were not at your best, was it the same sort of things, just in reverse? Were you a little bit grumpy already, you're not equipped, you're not trained, you don't have the skills to be able to react to those types of things in those situations, there's going to be a whole bunch of valuable data there if you're willing to have an honest and open conversation with yourself. So that honest, open conversation is setbacks are going to happen, not being the prophet of doom or anything like that, but just to know the day isn't going to be in a straight line. It's going to be a squiggly line like I've talked about before. So you're then in a situation where you say, when that situation or setback comes to me, who do I want to be? How do I want to be? How do I want to support other people in those situations to give everyone the opportunity to acknowledge exactly what's happening and then move forward with the best possible outcomes being the most appropriate things that you're actually chasing for each other? So think about that. You don't get to control the fact that setbacks occur in your life. They are going to occur in your life, but what you do get to control is your choice of actions, your choice of reactions, and how you're going to actually build that skill as you move forward. Think about some of the people in your life that just seem to always have a calm demeanor, that seem to just get the best out of other people when circumstances and situations are tense, they're stressful, they're difficult, and sometimes maybe even destructive, and start to figure out what they're doing that's different to what you're doing to try and give yourself that opportunity to upskill and give yourself the best chance of acting and reacting with the best version of yourself each and every single time.